Hello everyone, this is Orion Syndicate 910. Do you remember Peter Popoff? Well, back in the 1980s, Peter Popoff was one of America's biggest television evangelists. He claimed that God's own power flowed through him, and that he, with God's power, could heal your illnesses, whatever it was, high blood pressure, diabetes, even cancer. And of course, many people believed him, and many of these people gave him lots of money. After all, you'd go into his auditorium and he'd call your name, you'd go up to the front, you'd never met him in person before, and he knew everything there was to know about you. He knew your name, he knew your home address, he knew about your personal problems, he knew about your health issues, and he put his hands on you and said that God had healed you. Of course, the devoutly religious people who believed him believed, hey, God doesn't lie, so I'm healed. I'm cured of cancer. He even had people throw their bottles of medication onto the stage and their crutches. It was very alarming to see the broadcasts of it. And his activities drew the attention of James Randi, the amazing Randi, who discovered how Peter Popoff knew what he knew, and he publicly exposed Peter Popoff as a fraud on national television. And the show he picked to do this expose on was nothing less than one of the most popular television shows at the time, The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson. Because Johnny Carson was a good personal friend of James Randi. As a result of this expose, Peter Popoff's donations began to dry up, he declared bankruptcy, and faded off into obscurity. He did begin a comeback just a couple of years later, when he began to air his infomercials on cable networks. Slowly at first, building up venues of television and cable shows, broadcast in the United Kingdom, United States, Canada, even to Australia and New Zealand. And again, he was living a very, very comfortably rich lifestyle. So a few years ago, Inside Edition again aired an expose of Peter Popoff, drawing the public attention to what looked like a really fishy scam going on here. And how does this guy live so wealthy? How does he claim to have God's power? And what about this miracle spring water and the magic Dead Sea salt and all these other things that people were getting in the mail from Peter Popoff's ministries, with a letter asking for money back? So Popoff seemed to be immune from all this attention. This was unlike the first time where James Randi's expose put him out of business, well, almost did. Inside Edition didn't seem to put much of a dent in his activities. Now, back in March of this year, dprjones called upon us, his viewers and his friends, to help him in his personal quest to put Peter Popoff out of business once and for all. His plan was to have as many of us as possible send away for his miracle spring water, and the costs of mailing to lots of people on a regular basis would put a dent in Peter Popoff's pocketbook. Not a bad idea on the surface of it. On the following month, MediaWatch in Australia aired their own expose of Peter Popoff, calling upon Channel 9 to remove Popoff's show from their broadcasting schedule. Now, mass action is always a good idea. Getting as many people as possible concentrated into one singular goal works if you can get enough people doing it all at the same time. So, trying to do my part in all this, I decided to start up a blog where I listed all the television and cable networks that broadcast Peter Popoff's television shows. And the source of this list was nothing less than Peter Popoff's own website, which listed every single cable and television station that broadcast Peter Popoff's infomercials all around the world. And I gave the contact information, locations, as much information as I could, and I contacted other people, concerned Christians, who, being very worried about the effect of a person like Peter Popoff on the church, his duping of the gullible, his exploiting of people's fears, There are Christians very concerned about Peter Popoff's activities, and I managed to contact a few of them. And we swapped information. So, months later, here we are in September. People might be wondering, what's going on? How's it going? Well, I wanted to update the blog today, so I went back to Peter Popoff's website and decided to see which stations were listed, or if he had more or less or whatever. I had no idea what was going to happen when I first got to his website today, and I haven't updated the blog in a while. And lo and behold, there has been a bit of change. First of all, Australia and New Zealand have taken Peter Popoff off their programming schedules. He's no longer broadcast there. So Channel 9 in Australia took him off the air, and that was the same station that reached into New Zealand. So Australia and New Zealand now are Peter Popoff free. As far as Canada, well, a number of stations have removed Peter Popoff from their broadcasting schedule. He is no longer broadcast in stations in Alberta, Manitoba, Nova Scotia, and Saskatchewan. He lost 2 stations each in Alberta and Saskatchewan, 1 in each in Manitoba and Nova Scotia. A total of 6 stations in Canada. However, he is still broadcast on Canadian cable networks, the Christian Channel, Joy TV, and Vision TV. Individual Canadian TV stations that still broadcast his programs are in British Columbia, Ontario, and Quebec. And it's rather ironic that Chan TV be one of the stations that broadcast Peter Popoff. That one kind of hurt. Here in the United States, Peter Popoff has also suffered some losses. 13 stations across the USA have removed Peter Popoff from their broadcasting schedules, 1 each in Alabama, Florida, Georgia, Maryland, Massachusetts, Puerto Rico, the Virgin Islands, and Virginia and West Virginia. Now, Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands, as the case also with Virginia and West Virginia, 1 station covered both areas. Popoff also lost 2 stations in California, in Hawaii, and in Texas. For a total of 13 stations in the USA have pulled Peter Popoff's programming. However, TV stations in Michigan and Texas still broadcast his shows. WADL in Michigan and KDFI in Texas. Cable networks also broadcast Popoff's infomercials. Black Entertainment Television, where Peter Popoff actually began his comeback. The Learning Channel, which is rather ironic. The Travel Channel, and the Word Network. Still yet, in the United Kingdom, Peter Popoff is still broadcast on the Gospel Channel and the Faith Channel. So, that's the situation as far as I can see it now. His on-demand network, the website where you can supposedly see his show on demand, is still down. Even though he lists it for his Canadian listings, it's still down. So I don't know why he's still listed. Anyway, that is the update for Peter Popoff now. The links are in the sidebar. The link to the Inside Edition expose, the expose from Australia, and the amazing Randi's expose on The Tonight Show, as well as a link to the blog. Much credit, of course, for Peter Popoff's reversals can go to James Randi, who has never given up on his criticisms. The very concerned Christians who were very alarmed at Peter Popoff's activities and his fleecing of the sheep, as well as dprjones and other concerned people. And, of course, the big kudos going out to Australia's media. Thanks especially to all of you who wrote into television stations in your area or around the United States asking them to remove Peter Popoff from their programming schedules. How's Peter Popoff doing now? Well, I really don't know. I haven't checked into his finances. I don't know how well he's doing or how badly he might be doing. His website looks a lot better than it did before, so he probably still has some money going out. Anyway, that's the update on Peter Popoff for now. I'm Orion Syndicate 910. Thanks for watching.